Teddy, you sound testing. You sound testing, you Stephen.
Oh, bless him. You're stupid. It's your daddy. Hello. Welcome back to Me Time. And welcome to Me Time's Movies with Meaning.
Yeah.
So this will be episode 27, and
we've got a friend now.
we've got our first special guest.
Yeah.
I'm really gonna try and give him some space. He's more than welcome to stay. All of phase one.
Yeah.
I left the cushions up here on the top of the sofa. No, he's he's gestured to the top of the sofa. He knows he's being talked about.
Yeah.
Tetley. He's my boy. He's my cutie boy. Aww. So yes, this is episode 27 of Me Time. So now that I've introduced it as Movies with Meaning, it's a good time to. Oh my gosh. It's a good time. There we go. It's a good time to talk about episode titles, because the way that Elliott and I are going to be doing this is we've got things that we want to talk about, but we're not limiting it to an episode title.
Yeah.
Boy. Oh, and there he goes. Oh.
I scared him.
What did you do?
I just said hello.
Oh no, Dudley.
I'm just intrigued.
Boy. Now that my dog is gone, we'll properly begin. But welcome to episode 27. What we're going to be doing is because this is the Movies with Meaning, part of Me Time Phase 2, we will introduce each episode as a Movies with Meaning rather than the episode title, and then we'll split it up into the relevant episodes across the month to avoid confusion there.
Yeah.
So, before we kick off, I know this was definitely up there as one of the things that we wanted to talk about in Me Time Phase 2 straight off the bat. Next to something else, which you'll have to wait for. I can't wait for that one. That's going to be juicy content. It's going to be a lot, but because it's a lot, we decided to move it further down the line.
Yeah.
So this is the second on the list, Movies with Meaning. Purely because we're both movie nerds, not just in terms of fantasy and sci-fi and superhero stuff. We like movies, going to the theatre, because I don't know about you, Elliot, but I can proper immerse myself in a movie and find its deeper meaning, and I can disconnect from the world and just immerse myself, and I just absolutely love it.
Yeah. I enjoy sort of the questions that some movies sort of ask, and they're never sort of cut and dry. Sometimes they sort of leave it open.
Yes.
And other times they do close it.
Yeah.
In my case, the movie I kind of want to hit on in regards to Movies with Meaning is
okay.
Good Will Hunting.
Yes. Remember, you were very eager to talk about Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, I think I wanted it last series, but we just, because with the agenda we had, we could.
Yeah. I think I remember you wanted to bring it into the final episode just as we were about to wrap up phase one. I was just like, gotta stick to what we did, dude.
Yeah.
Which is why this is number one. It just feels right to get this out there. Movies with Meaning. So, without further ado, now that we've got that out of the way, why don't you give us a little bit of insight, Elliot? Why is Good Will Hunting to you a movie with a loss of meaning? And perhaps, in my opinion, as we're going into this, an artistic movie, because I solely believe that pieces of film can be interpreted and represented as an artistic form and a telling of emotional tales, and in fact, just in itself, just being something to admire and to learn from.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely express it sort of as art from the director and writers. Expression of someone's thoughts and feelings.
Yeah,
I think that probably is a fair description.
Yeah.
I guess I enjoyed Good Will Hunting, one, because I kind of came to it late, and then having watched it appreciated it more. I may have seen it in the past when I was younger, but it didn't really hit as much. It's only when I got older as they go, oh, this actually hits harder than I thought now.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is its sort of perspective on life, its perspective on knowledge, and also sort of overcoming trauma. Will isn't kind of set up in the best place when he's first introduced. He's first introduced to us as a janitor for a university, or the cleaner for a university. And in the opening scene, after a university lecture's been completed, there's a maths tutor, and I can't remember his name, who asked a question to his class of, can you solve this formula?
I remember this. It's acted by Stellan Skarsgård, isn't he? Yeah, very talented actor.
Yeah. And everyone in the uni class, with all their papers, all their stuff, can't answer the question. But Will can. But no one knows it's Will because he's the cleaner. No one would think the cleaner was possible doing this. And we only find out over time that Will was part of Will's been part of the fostering system.
Yeah.
And we don't know how he's become a cleaner in uni, but we only find we were kind of given snippets over the course of the movie, until towards the very end. And it's sort of a good film because there's a poignant part in the middle of the film where Will and his therapist Robin Williams,
very, very talented actor. Robin.
Yeah.
It's one of his best movies, in my opinion. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, there's a speech in it that kind of hit with me at the time that I've kind of tried to bring forward into my own life, where his therapist kind of challenges Will on his perspective on life. In such a way that Will's not expecting it. Will's kind of sat down in a park, and Matt Damon, who plays the role, is like, once Robin hits his line to open the speech up, you kind of see Will or Matt Damon kind of go, oh, I'm kind of in trouble to a degree.
Yeah, just the subtlety to his face from what I remember. Yeah.
And Will throughout the movie so far has been very sort of blunt, wants to degrade his therapist to a degree, is very sort of on the defensive. And in one of his sessions, Will kind of captures his eye on a painting. I can't remember specifically what the painting is, but anyway, Will makes an observation about his painting, and then transcribes those observations onto his therapist. And at the time, his therapist is sort of taken aback by the observation, but he isn't obviously kind of reacting to it. He kind of absorbs it and then asks Will to leave. And then he's asked to go to the park one day. And his therapist's opening remarks are, you looked at that painting and you interpreted that Forza's painting on me. And that kept me up all night until it didn't. It didn't in the fact that I realised that you were still just a boy. And how do I know this? And it's because, in kind of a way, his knowledge is kind of very base level.
Yeah.
In the fact that he could repeat 100 different papers or books. But he couldn't tell you. He couldn't tell you what an experience feels like.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting thing from my point of view, because at the time I was very sort of closed away, and then having watched the film, I was there going, oh god, I probably should experience more of life to a degree. And it wasn't, in fact, I need to go on holiday and experience life and all that stuff. I don't need to kind of go on holiday and experience life that way. What I need to do is pay more attention to the small things, and I've kind of put it into practice in my own perspective now, and I've actually it's been nice. I put it into practice on my own terms, but people have seen me put it into practice and also have practiced it themselves, which has been interesting. So I mentioned it before that I'd been on an experience on my own, and in that experience of like talking to other people and kind of adapting to new people and to exchanging conversations, you kind of learn the subtleties of certain things.
Yeah.
It's not just black and white. I think when you're alone, and when you experience the small stuff, it kind of hits a lot harder. And Will's kind of opened his eyes to this. During this conversation, Will's kind of open to this fact. He didn't realise it at the time.
There's a lot of pain beneath the surface of Will Hunting as a character, which is what I appreciate being represented in such a movie, because it very much could be a coming of age story that the person that never got noticed is the prodigy of knowledge and will succeed and flies up through the ranks. It could be an atypical, all of the students thinks, you're just a janitor. You're just a nobody. And then he just proves them wrong. And then it's just like an Adam Sandler-esque, just like, yeah, I know that I'm better than you. And all of these kids are like, no, oh no, we've been foiled again. Like that sort of stuff. It could have been like that. But it wasn't. What it was straight off the bat, it was janitor is really, he's the only person outside of my students who are legitimately here to pass this, whereas someone who's can't be bothered actually knows what to do.
Yeah.
But there's a missing piece, and the missing piece is his self-drive.
Yeah.
His self-drive to be there. If he truly wanted to succeed in that capacity, he would have been the student in the first place. There he was as the janitor. I'm not saying that was his choice, because he was given that role because of obviously the orphan status, I believe. Yeah. So when Stellan Skarsgård, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it was again to me a movie with meaning as well. When Stellan Skarsgård's character pretty much says just like, well, I've got to take you on, and he's like, he's like, no, dream on. That's when Robin Williams' character comes into it, and from what I remember from that paint scene, and you get the impression of Robin straight away that he's not a calm character. He's not a perfect character. No. He's not this vessel of knowledge. He's very much imperfect.
Yeah.
And he prides himself in that. And that's the beauty of that, is that when he insults his wife, he pins him up against the wall and he says, like, if you do that again, I'll unalive you.
Yeah.
If you threaten my wife, you speak ill of her, I will, I think he said, I will gut you or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, whoa, I've touched a nerve, and he wins.
Yeah.
But then it comes to that painting scene. And because there's that layer beneath Will of this tormented child that doesn't see the world in colour.
No.
He sees it in logic because he's driven himself to survival. He's driven himself to this cockiness because his intellect is quite high.
Yeah.
He's a naturally intelligent man, which he says in that speech scene as well. He goes, I don't doubt it. You're a really bright kid with a bright future ahead of you. But he's just like, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
You don't see, because all you see is you being better than everyone else. Because you're scared.
Yeah.
He is scared because he's abandoned. He
Mm.
feels alone. He feels unseen, even with his friends. Ben Affleck's character being one of my favorite characters in the film because he matches his energy. He matches Will's energy.
Oh, his friend's got a really interesting perspective. That's kind of unique that you don't usually get in Friends. It actually kind of goes to a point you don't see very often in people where a lot of people these days are willing to sort of burn each other to get to the top, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The interesting with Ben Affleck's character is he kind of wants to push Will up. Like he'll support him. He'll be in his shoulder or sort of stuff. But in the same regard, he also wants to push Will up. There's a scene where they're at lunch and he says, "Oh, I enjoy picking up all the time, but I'm not gonna lie. There's times where I'm sitting out your door and I wish you'd never answer because you've gone off and done something awesome.
Yeah.
Because I know you've got the capability to do
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
To get a friend like that is unbelievably rare,
and it's doable.
It's
I
doable.
will say we're very lucky in our lives. I'd be able to say that I would very much do the same for yourself.
Yeah.
If for some reason one day you messaged me and said, I'm going to Hollywood, some shit, I'd message you and go like, why?
Yeah.
But you get what I'm trying to say? Like, at the end of the day, I'd just be a very proud friend. Like, I'll be like Ben. I would just be like, sure, I miss you. You're my friend. But I know you've gone off to do the right thing. And what I want to bring to note, to relate to life experience here, is the colour in his life that Will saw. It wasn't a career. It wasn't money. No. It wasn't proving anything else that he was better than anyone else. He followed his heart.
Yeah.
He followed, and it can be such a scary thing to do, following your heart, because your brain, the biggest theme in the movie, Will's brain was telling him, play it safe. Stick to what you know you can do, live the easy life, and be the rat king, basically. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, how'd you like dem apples in that restaurant scene? He was king of the hooligans in the bar because he was a very smart guy, which is why I forget the name of his love interest in that movie.
I think it was Roxy.
Why she takes such a shine, because she can see the beauty and the smarts of Will, but then she very quickly learns that he doesn't see that in himself. However, this is of course what he learns from his therapist, a man who sees the colour in everything. And my favourite scene in the film is when they bond for the first time. And that was when he realises that they support the same baseball team. So he goes like, oh my gosh, like you support them. He's just like, oh, I was headed to this really iconic game. Will starts nerding out. He goes like, oh my gosh. He starts becoming a kid. He strikes a nerve in his childhood and he plays on it. And Robin is running around the room, being so theatrical and beautiful, with just like reenacting all of the awesome scenes from that. And he's like, he makes that final swing, hey, home run. He's like, oh my gosh, what did you do then? He goes, dunno. I don't know. What do you mean? He's like, I wasn't there. What do you mean you weren't there? I wasn't there because I was with my darling girlfriend. He's like, why would you do that? It's like, I had a choice, and it was to be with her or to go to the game. And of course I chose to be with her. Why? Because I love her. And I could still see the game. But I chose to be with her because my days with her, I'm not going to get any other moment with her. I found her. She's in my life. I don't need to give another reason than that. Will, I remember him being pretty mad at that. He was like, I don't get it. Logically, you should go and do what you want to do and see the good thing. Why are you letting people hold you back here? It didn't compute.
It's a really complicated answer really complicated sort of position that, well, I think we're seeing the modern day now where like everyone's pushing everyone for a career. So I used to have a career in this, you used to have a career in that. And then everyone forgets the family. Everyone forgets the actual foundations of where you come from, or like the love, or like someone who you should put care into. They like everyone preaches it. It's like, oh, we should care and all that sort of stuff, but no one really lives it really. You know, it's again, I said previously in series 1 where like I've sorted out my friends now to the point like everyone in my friend group has a certain foundational role in my group. Anyone outside of that, I don't know who they are basically. they don't exist anymore. But the people I invest my time in 100%.
What led you to that?
I made a lot of mistakes, probably, in regards to I saw a lot of good in people, almost too much good. That kind of got me burned in the process. And the interesting thing is trying to sort of relearn it, like to become very sort of very what's the word?
Self.
No. Selfish is not the word.
Not selfish. Are you looking out for yourself? Is that what you're trying to say?
Very cold, maybe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you sort of become very cold because you can't really open up, and it's a really.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's again only after therapy. Ironically, kind of, you can't connect with people unless you open up. Which is
it's hard, yeah.
Yeah, to go through certain challenges, like, and the funny thing is, with a lot of young guys at the minute are being told, don't open up, and to a degree, yes, to a degree they're right, but they've lost the context and the fact that don't open up to everybody. Open up to people.
Open up to the people that you trust. Yeah. No, I get that, and it's so tricky at a young age, I'd say, now more than ever. What was it, the conversation I had the other day with my mum and one of my friends? My mum was, they were both a great deal older than me. I'm not saying great, but I was the only one of my generation of Gen Z. And they both agreed. They were reminiscing their childhood. They said there were so many different things. But they both then turned around and agreed. It's like, oh my gosh, we don't envy you. We're like, if we were in your position and we were growing up now, we'd have such a terrible time. We'd find it really hard. They're basically turning around to me and just saying, just like, if you had it rough growing up, Matt, can you imagine the generations beneath you? I'm like thinking like, you're right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how tough it is for them? I mean, the pair of us, me and you, grew up at a time when the internet started to weave its way into society. The internet.
Yeah.
Before phones were a thing. Well, of course, phones were a thing. Texting. I remember back in so I'm thinking times of years here. You saw if I started secondary school in 2010, then it would be around, I want to say 2007 and 2008 was the time when the youth started to wield phones.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the internet.
No.
It wasn't all of this Snapchat stuff. It was Bluetoothing music over to one another. It was texting.
Yeah.
It was songs. It was taking photos, making videos. Now, naturally, of course, this caused a lot of uproar. Of course, with a new platform to communicate on, as and when, cyberbullying naturally became a very, very big issue with schools.
It's such a complicated subject these days when it comes to sort of bullying, but I don't want to get into it now because I think there'd be a better conversation later.
No, of course, I completely agree. What we were trying to say is that the age difference and the way that generations were raised means that people, many different ages, see things very, very differently.
Yeah.
And I will say, because of the way society has changed and the way, I'd say much less society now, I'll correct myself, the world has changed. It is so difficult to learn about the foundations of trust.
Yes.
It's I hate to say it. It's I want a world where we know, not necessarily where you can trust everyone, but I want a world where you know how to trust someone.
Yeah.
Not who to trust, how to trust.
Yeah, I think we were kind of lucky because we're kind of that weird generation where we are kind of we're considered Generation Z, but we're not really Generation Z.
It's a fine cusp.
And at the same time, but we sometimes suffer the same issue with Generation Z, but also
I think we're Zoomers. I think that's what we're called, Zoomers.
Yeah. And then, but at the same time, we don't generally sort of conform to the general statistics of Generation Z coming through now. It's kind of very bizarre. So we've kind of had the treat of kind of having the life where technology wasn't around, and also learning to sort of embrace technology a little bit. But then we're also kind of living that minefield of what technology is now becoming. I think we also get lost in the fact that technology is going so fast, we forget the core foundations of people and humanity.
Yeah, we're losing the colour.
Yeah,
in life, which fantastically weaves back to our original analysis of Good Will Hunting, because this is ultimately what life should be. And I had this epiphany to myself the other day, and I've narrowed it down. There's 3 kinds of people in life at the moment. You got the people that live.
Yeah.
You got the people that fight.
Yeah.
And you got the people that make the others forget if they're a fighter or a liver.
Yeah.
So you take that how you will, but that is where I stand. And you choose to be one of those 3. And I'm not painting fighting in a bad way. I can paint. You can easily paint fight in a very, very good way as well. The people that stand up for the right thing, that fight the good fight to make sure that we live in a safe world, that's not necessarily supposed to say just like fighting is bad. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical confrontation. It could be a verbal statement, a confrontation, which can be obviously misconstrued as a bad thing as well.
Yeah.
But you gotta, it's not finding out where you stand, it's finding out who you are in this world, so you can live the life that you know you should, as well as the life that know that you could. And that comes back down to understanding your potential and knowing you don't necessarily have any limitations to do the things that you want, but you can't always be logical about it. You've got to be human about it as well. That's kind of where I'm at in the way that what Will Hunting is trying to say, which is why that is such a powerful movie with meaning, especially in today's world as well, and why, for the time that the movie was made as well, the time it was released, it deserved the merits and the praise and the awards that it got, because it's so it tried to not warn everyone, but say, this is how it is, and this is how it will be,
Remember, Meetime's on Spotify, so if you like Matt here, who regularly goes out on a run, you can listen to us as well.
Right, I'm off.
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch on Roxy a little bit, because the story is sort of counterintuitive to the one that we're being told at the minute. But it's got more detail than just being a cold-hearted bastard and all that sort of stuff. Will's naturally sort of very defensive, and younger blokes these days are kind of told, "Oh, don't say anything to a possible spouse or whatever." And Robin Williams' character has got a good point, kind of going, you kind of have to be brave in the fact of like letting people know who you are a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't connect. They only see you for your kind of physical traits to a degree. They don't see the other stuff. I'm only learning this now. Going to sort of 26, going to 27, sorry, where I can't bottle up too much stuff anymore. I need to do it when a task requires me to do it. However, when a task does not require me to do it, then I can open up. So I'm sort of learning now, sort of reopen up to people I'm close to, and in doing so, they're doing the same as well. So I'm kind of getting a feedback in regards to,
well, you know where you
we're similar.
stand.
Yeah,
And you should be like that with people. I'm not necessarily saying give everyone a chance,
No.
but the capacity to be kind is a free action. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
The only cost that you should be worried about is your happiness. If it costs your happiness, then the action is expensive and it doesn't merit your attention. You should do it because you want to do it. You should do it because you like them or you love them and you wish to mend the bonds. And then you'll see who they are and whether they need to be in your life or whether you need to be in theirs, you know? I'll go back to what you said as well. And when I asked you the question, what led you to part ways with some of your friends? And then you said, well, some of the mistakes that I made as well. I'd like to touch on that because there's a moment in Good Will Hunting, probably its most iconic scene, next to How Do You Like Them Apples, is that it's not your fault scene. When, of course, he attends, so rounding up to his final therapy sessions, and he attends, and then you see Robin Williams' character sees a change in Will, a big change, and he's succeeding, he's making all the right moves, but Roxy's left him. Roxy's gone off, and he hasn't chased after her, and he's deeply upset, and because he's doing, in his head, he's doing the logical thing, and he's pursuing his career, he's pursuing his intelligence, the man he knows he should be. So why is he sad? Why is this person that has seen him through and through in his life, that has left him, that he really shouldn't warrant time to, why has that action left him sad? And it's because of the way that he was raised and the way that the world raised him. Hence why Robin Williams turned around and said, it's not your fault. It's not. You made a mistake, but it wasn't your fault. It was because of the man that you've become. You can see you're really trying to make all the right decisions here. But sometimes, even if you make every right decision, something will happen. And it's not because that you're doing the right things. It's because naturally, sometimes it's just not meant to be.
No.
And that's not your fault. It's not your fault. And he kept on saying, no, it's not my fault. No, you don't. You don't know. It's not your fault. And he kept on saying it to the point he breaks down. Will breaks down massively.
It's a really clever scene as well, because again, you kind of, if you're talking to people who are going for issues, they tend to sort of shield. They tend to sort of like, they don't tell you straight away what's going on. I mean, I've done it. I know other people. So like, I always ask twice if someone's okay these days, or like 3 or 4 times. Like, you definitely sure? You're 100% sure? Because generally the first time around, they sort of brush it off. They're kind of go, no, I'm fine. And of course they want it. They kind of want to be not normal to a group, but they kind of want to. They don't want to call attention to the fact that maybe they are kind of struggling.
Sorry.
And and usually on the second or third time, you are kind of like, you definitely sure you're okay? They tend to kind of go, okay, look, I'm not. And then they kind of over. I think the good thing with that scene is, Will's therapist is constantly kind of going, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. And it's kind of that weird sort of cognitive sort of recognition after, I think, the 4th time where he breaks down, where it's recognised that he is being helped. Which we're not, we're not kind of accustomed to these days. It's like, oh, everyone will tell you everything. No, they won't. Everyone's got a certain areas they want to kind of deploy.
You can't say, unless you are with someone through and through that you trust with your whole heart. You can't say that to your friends that they tell me everything.
No.
They say things about you that you probably wouldn't know about. But it's your nature of trust with them. You know deep down that they'll like you, and if they don't like you, then they'll let you know. His pattern of behaviour with Will was becoming his friend. He was listening to him. He wasn't directly asking him, "What's wrong with you then?" Why are you sad? He didn't say that. He goes, "Is everything okay, son?"
Yeah.
He doesn't ask him. He just turns around and he tell him as it is. He goes, I know who you are. You're a cocky kid. But then he gets to know him a bit more. He gets to know with his baseball games. He goes to his pub as well, realizes that he's always getting drinks for free, which is not a nice thing. Like, Robin is an imperfect human, but that makes him human.
Yeah.
And he's enjoying life. He's looking at life with color. He's doing the things that he wants to and experiencing the flavors that he wants to. But that should be, in my opinion, and from what I've noticed, the approach to letting friends and letting people know that you care. Spend time with them.
Yeah.
And this is, in my experience, where I've had a few times where I have, in the past when I've been young, asking explicitly, are you okay? And I keep on, it's not the fact that I was consistent with such questions, but it was the fact that I was just, well, I know you're upset, so you're going to tell me what it is.
Yeah, you can't expect them to tell you.
Well, yeah. But that was a mistake on my part, obviously. And I was a very young man, and I'd say teenager as well.
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
what you're told to do. That's what we were told to do. If someone is sad, find out why they're sad and make them feel better. You know, remind them that they're your friend. But lately, I've noticed people open up to me when I've just been me.
Yeah.
I've just given my company to them, and I've been open with them. And they've asked me questions, and they're like, can I ask you something? I'm like, yeah, sure. What did you do with this, that, and the other in your past with so and the other and that sort of stuff? You know, I go, okay. I don't ask why they asked me that question. I go, oh, this is why. And then they ask me more and more questions, and I'm just so open about it and honest with them. And then I just spend more time with them, and I just continue to be myself to the point. Eventually, sometimes with certain people, they turn around and they told me how they felt.
Yeah.
They told me what was going on. And that wasn't when I said, I had no idea. Or, oh my God, that's terrible. That's terrible. I just listened.
Yeah, it's a really strange thing when
just
you
listened,
your first friend kind of open up to you with no warning. It's like, oh, I'm not ready for this. I need to switch to a different mood to try and sort this out now.
The most important thing that I say and do is I put my feelings aside. Because everyone, this is the thing, when someone has something going on in their life, everyone that they know and love will have a different opinion on it. This is why therapy and the Samaritans are such a good constant, because they are that detachment of your life and they will not have a bias. I'm not saying that's, sometimes having a bias does help for certain contextual circumstances, but not having that bias is a good way for you to get better, to have that lack of, not necessarily lack of empathy, but for someone to look at it with this coherency, rather than this emotional humanity and sympathy for other parties and whatnot and the other. Yeah. But it is my utmost importance after listening to put those feelings aside, and first and foremost, don't make a big deal about it. Don't say like, I wish you'd told me sooner. I really just say, first and foremost, thank you so much. I'm honoured by your trust. Thank you for talking to me. And I don't get to say, that must have been really big of you to talk to me about that. I just say, thank you for your trust. And that's when I start talking. It's like, can I ask some questions? If that's okay. I just make them know that what they have told me is safe with me. It's not a big deal, because as soon as you start making it a big deal that they should be opening up more, they'll retreat. And
that's the really.
You just got to let them talk.
Tell me more. No, I'm done now. Okay.
That's literally it. It's a game of cat and mouse. If the cat lunges on the mouse straight away, this is a weird analogy.
That is a very weird analogy.
Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say in a weird way. If you pounce straight away, the mouse is going to run away. You know, you need it's to get out. It's a strange analogy. I really wish I didn't use that analogy right now, because that's quite a predatorial. But you listen.
I do know what you did.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is you need to let them know that what they're saying is healthy, what they're saying, but it's just words. And these words will help them, because someone else will know they should not be words with weight. And I've had those times where after that and long into the future, I've turned around and I've gone, well, look, in conversations, I've gone, look how far you've come. You've said so much to me, and I've noticed a change in you. You've been so honest with me, and you've continued to be honest with me. Doesn't that tell you a little bit more about yourself? That you're healing. You want me to help. You want others to help. You want others in. That's a good thing.
I always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed the changes. I think last year I had a kind of really good year, kind of helping a couple of guys out, really.
Yeah.
And the smallest things change, which is hilarious. And again, sorry, Ryan, my bad. Ryan being the one that kind of sticks out in my head the most is, he was very, very, very kind of shy when we went through school. And he had listened to the podcast and sort of listened to what I'd done previously. And we had conversations sort of at a pint or sort of stuff. And I think it was, when was it? I think he'd come out with some sort of stuff, and I remember he texted. I think he went to a holiday on his own for the first time. And the funny thing is, I never known Ryan to do that. But he texted me because I was busy and I couldn't join him. And he texted me, I think that afternoon, he went, I'm down here anyway. I was like, hang on, what? You're down here anyway? Like, yeah, no, I'm enjoying myself. I'm in Dorset, just at the festival, enjoying myself. I was like, blimey. Like, seeing Ryan go from really shy to kind of, blimey, he's at a festival, kind of enjoying it for himself, is really cool. And you yourself as well, when you went to go to the fireworks on your own.
Yeah.
The first sort of embracing of like, oh, hang on, you're comfortable now. You're getting comfortable.
I was teaching myself to be comfortable. It wasn't a normal thing, and I found myself that night. That's a core memory for me now.
Yeah, it's strange.
Oh no, it's good because I remember my therapist told me to listen to myself and to listen to what I wanted. It's a strange thing to learn that you should put what you want first. That being said, he said there's a difference between that assertive self and aggressive self, because an aggressive person would always put themselves first.
Yeah.
Pardon me. But an assertive person would know when to put themselves first and know in certain circumstances when others this time will need your energy today. And then maybe tomorrow you come first,
Yeah, and again, I kind of go back to Robin Williams' speech slightly. When he kind of mentions, when you look at a girl and sort of see how she smiles, it's sort of different to everybody else's, or you wake up with a woman and you just know you're in love with them, sort of thing. It's so nice, but I want to kind of retranslate that into sort of what I'm now seeing now, where with Ryan, you see him stand taller, his shoulders more broad. You yourself are kind of going through that same transformation right now. I've got a couple of friends who are beginning to grow themselves, and their smiles are a lot wider compared to they used to be kind of sort of slightly smaller. But the funny thing is, you don't really see it when you're kind of walking around with other people. It's kind of bizarre. You only see it when you kind of can be alone with yourself and kind of think about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very sort of strange concept, and it's kind of very hard to explain unless you kind of experience it for yourself. Like, the idea, the small experiences, like the things you don't really think about, like for your sake, going to fireworks. For anybody else, that'd be like a normal evening out. But now for you, it's now a cool memory because it's like, oh, I've been there and done that. I've actually experienced.
It was because
small things.
It was something that I wanted to do, and that day, through other reasons, it was a plan that was supposed to be with a group of friends, but they all didn't come for other circumstances, not malicious in the slightest. They literally couldn't come in the end. Stuff came up, and I could decide to do two things. One, I'd stay at home and do nothing. Two, I'd go to the fireworks anyway. And I was like, logically here, I've got no one to go with, so why would I enjoy fireworks by myself? And that's when I decided to listen to all of my self-growth in the year and go, what do you want to do, Matthew? I want to go see some fireworks tonight. I told myself, I'm like, so go see some fireworks. Like, but I need to go someone with. I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You need to learn to walk this path of life of yourself and show yourself color as well. Be that form of energy that you want to learn to give others. If you can't give yourself the same energy that you give others, then you'll never will truly be able to give that energy to others. I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to be kind to myself in the same way that I'll be kind to others. Literally felt like I was taking myself out on a date or something like that. In the weirdest way.
It's strange.
It is the weirdest way. But I got there. It was so stupid. I got there 2 hours before the fireworks festival started. And it was great because even then I was like, oh well. And I took myself on a walk, went to a pub, got myself a drink, walked back, got to the festival. Bonfire was absolutely amazing. The best I've ever seen. The firework display was insane. Then I got back in my car and I was coughing up ash, mind you. I was like, I had such a great time. And then I remember all of my friends saying the next day, just like, sounds like you had the best deal.
Yeah.
Like you ended up having the best night out of all of us here. I'm just like, yeah, I did. But I'm not going to gloat.
No.
No, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything more than that. I just need to be me.
It's just one of those experiences. It just becomes one of those experiences you can bank. It's sort of just have it for yourself. It's sort of nice. But that's kind of why I enjoy the film so much, because it kind of brings back the importance of like experiencing those small things. Like I mean, you don't have to do it on your own as well. Like, you know, when I was dating, or you know, when you kind of go out for a walk and, you know, you're holding your other half's hand, you know, that experience is nice. There's no denying that. Or like you're sharing a hug, like the smallest things. The way that, you know, she would smile or laugh sometimes. All the sort of small things kind of bank up in your own sort of in your own sort of soul, and kind of
it would make my heart hurt as a kid seeing that stuff, because I was like, obviously when I was young I was like, why don't I have that?
Yeah.
Will I ever have that? And it's a very, I will say, it's a very film cliche thing.
It is very
It
cliche.
is like there's love for everyone, love, lovey love, and it's man gets with woman, woman gets with woman, man gets with man, you know. And you think, well, that's unrealistic. Well, where's my other half? Well, they got to tell a story. That's the story they want to tell, and that's just part of the story. And we spoke about this in the live special as well. Being yourself should be your utmost priority, because that's when the people that truly belong in your life, to see the real you, they will gravitate towards you. And that's when, because you're putting so much time in yourself, that's naturally when those sorts of things happen. Because when Robin Williams started saying, just like, when you know when that angel in your life that is meant to protect you, and that you're meant to protect them, is there, because it's just easy, that you just do nothing else. Because I mean, I certainly have had that feeling multiple times. You know, it's an indescribable feeling, knowing when you look at someone that you would just do anything for them. It happens, it does, and these people come and go, but the important thing is, it's a very real thing. Despite the fact that a film may be unrealistic in terms of its fictitious pace, I'd say it has to tell a story within a certain amount of time. And the most grievance people say is like, that's unrealistic. I'm like, maybe it is, but it's still telling a story, and within that story, it's telling very, very real things.
I think that's the one I was after earlier. Cynical. I mean, I am guilty of being cynical. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I'm happy and joyful all the time.
I certainly am.
I am guilty of being cynical.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think those kind of moments kind of cover those sort of cynical sort of sides up, because they do exist.
Yeah.
I could have a very cynical mind view of various other problems that I'm going to breach kind of shortly. But I think what the kind of the hope, the more sort of hopeful side of life that you would look at is, how are your mates doing? How are you doing, generally speaking, as a character, as a whole? And look about like the career and whatnot later on. You kind of want to look after yourself first. To a degree, there's sometimes where you've got to sacrifice yourself a little bit to kind of get somewhere. But in the grand scheme of things, look after yourself foremost, and your mates foremost, and your family foremost, before anything else.
Yeah. I remember that term, sacrifice, being a word of very good meaning when we spoke about it in school. And I do remember the teacher saying to the class, what does sacrifice mean? What does it mean to you? I was the first one to put my hand up, because I'd seen stories of heroes sacrificing themselves so that the people could live to tell the tale. And that's what I said. It's like, I remember it was a year 5 class, and I was just like, when someone lets themselves like fail so others can succeed.
Yeah.
That's what I said. And then I said, and the teacher then said to me, sorry, what do you mean by that, Matthew? And I said, it was quite funny. So like, if everyone in the class was getting hunted down by like 100 lions, and then I pulled a stake out of my pocket and ran another direction, they all ran after me, everyone started laughing, and so did the teacher. I was just like, well, I'll be sacrificing myself, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So everyone would escape. And she was like, well, yeah, but it's not always about death.
Yeah.
She did say that. It's not always about meaning that your life ends so others can live. It is, she said, in that action, it was, you can see that you are putting others' needs ahead of your own. You're making sure that they're okay before you. That's when the teacher said, that's what a sacrifice is. Not necessarily death, because then she said, you could drop the stake.
Yeah.
And maybe one lion hunts you down and you get hurt, but you live to tell the tale. So you could survive still, but like, you sacrificed yourself. You sacrificed your own safety. Yeah. That's what that means. And that's why people need to understand that when you better yourself, which is what I am currently trying to do.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the hole in the bottom of the bucket gets mended, and you start filling up with water. You start understanding yourself, giving yourself time, and you have this well of positivity to yourself. You go to the cinema, you do fireworks nights, you treat yourself, get yourself a Costa, you go to the pub and hang out with your mates, you're having a great time. But then you see someone in your life who is struggling, and someone's invited you out for like, I don't know, pizza. You go, tonight I'm just gonna stay in with my mate. I'm gonna go to them. It's sacrifice has so much weight of death over it, but that's not the case. That night, you're using your energy, this act of sacrifice, as you will, to better someone else's time. They're coming first tonight, and that is that act of assertiveness where you can see, no, I'm needed tonight. It's not that they need me, is that I need to be there for them. Yeah. You know? That's how I take it now.
Yeah.
And it's so important to understand that you have to be in a good physical and good mental place to be that person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's when complications arise and you both get lower at the same time. That's, of course, where I used to be.
Yeah.
Being a very, very passive man, always putting others ahead of my own problems, and then wondering why I was so sad all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's in hindsight, it makes sense. But I appreciate at the time, and obviously in Good Will Hunting, you know, it don't make sense. It don't compute, dog.
No,
you know,
no.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
We will cut that episode there. We felt that was I certainly felt that was a very meaningful and powerful conversation. We will continue our discussion of movies with meaning in episode 28, which will air at the same time next week on Spotify and YouTube. So until then, stay safe, look after yourselves, and remember, there's always time for me time.
See you soon. Have a good week.
Take care, guys. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Me Time. If you haven't already, please consider following, subscribing, sharing, and liking. It helps Elliott and I out get more episodes of Me Time to you.